start? I'm going to dive right in. I'm kind of really excited. I'm going to say excited, not nervous. I'm really excited. So thank you, John. Okay. Hey guys, what's up? My name is Jeanette, also known as Ms.FitVegan. And today we have a living legend in the house. So we have Mr. John Gray, who is of course the author of Men Are From Mars. I'm so nervous. I can't even remember the title. Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And my favorite book of all time, What We Feel We Can Heal. This is my favorite book. And I think this is your first book, right, John?
Yeah, and most people don't know about it, but it sold 1 million copies.
Wow. Yeah. How many books do you have, John?
They're behind me, about 27, 28, something like that.
Incredible, incredible. Okay, so I want to get started. I want to go right into it because I have so many questions for you, so many topics that I want to cover. But first, I want to talk about self-sabotaging. Okay, so I coach people on how to eat healthier, right? Yeah. And a lot of people have difficulties with, their actions being congruent with what they say they want. And so can you please help me understand, why do we self-sabotage ourselves?
I think you're very aware of it. I'll also talk about emotional eating. And I have a new spin on it. We know that when people are disturbed emotionally, like you feel frustrated or anxious or unhappy or bored, all those negative emotions or negative states are a blocked flow of energy. Okay. Aliveness is the flow of energy between us and the universe. Okay. It's connection, like communication. We're talking. My energy is going to you. Your energy is coming to me. There's a circulation. An example of this, extreme example of this, take Michael Jackson. He was never happy outside of in his life, except on stage, when his gift, which brought in voltage of energy, comes through. And I know you're into vegan diet, and that pulls a lot of energy into your body. Okay, can you handle it is the question. If you're an entertainer on stage, you're going to pull in energy because you have a gift, a talent. So it flows through. The audience sends the energy back. It flows through. As long as he's singing and dancing, he feels fantastic. But once he stops being on stage where he's circulating his talent, the energy is blocked. Blocked energy. It's divine energy. The universe is divine. Okay, if you're a vegan, you have to accept that. I don't talk about that in all my interviews, but we live in a divine world. So energy is flowing through us. And the more you have a meat-free diet, we'll put it that way, in a vegan diet, more energy is coming into you. So what then happens is when energy responds to what I want. So you suddenly say, I want to do something which is really good for me, or I want to help the world, or as soon as you feel desire, energy comes to you. Now, if you don't act on that desire, then that energy is blocked. Now, blocked energy is negative energy. It's divine energy, but once it's blocked, that's what negativity is. So that's what emotions are. Emotions of anger, of sadness, of fear, guilt, shame. Those are emotions, but people don't want to feel emotions because they're actually pain. Just like you have pain in your body, pain on the emotional level is a negative emotion. So when you don't want to feel a negative emotion, you're denying it. So you're blocking that energy. Okay, you're pushing it down. You can't let it go. That's why talking in therapy or journaling, whatever, helps you to let go of, let the energy flow again. At least you're sharing it, you're putting it out, you're becoming conscious of it and letting it go. So then what happens? We push our emotions down. That's blocked energy. And if you eat food, that uses up energy. If you sit there, if you get angry and upset, that uses up energy. So whenever you set a goal, this is like the whole thing about the New Year's goals people have that they never achieve, is you set a goal, the energy comes in to do it, you feel excited, but you don't act, you don't follow through. Now, when you don't act and you don't follow it through, you have negative emotions. And then when you have negative emotions, you tend to want to use up that blocked energy through eating. Eating is a way to use it up. Also, worrying is another way. This is a big deal for women, particularly. They're living in a state of a lot of anxious worrying. And for men, it's addictions to sex or pornography. Okay, these are all releases of energy. See, it's energy not used in a productive way. There's nothing productive about masturbation. There's nothing productive about overeating. And there's nothing productive about worrying all the time, okay, about things you can't do anything about. So these are some of the vulnerabilities we have that leads people to not follow through on what they say they want to do.
Wow. Yeah, that was incredible. So that explains it. And so now what is the solution? What can people start to do to start to stop that chain of, not doing what they love and not living a life of passion, because that's where self-sabotage comes from.
Well, I'm taking this angle of approach to answering your questions. There's many ways I can answer it because you like my book, What You Feel You Can Heal. That changed my life, was understanding how to process negative emotions without having to act them out. If ever you use a negative emotion to get what you want, your brain becomes a bias towards more negative emotions. If you use negative emotions to become conscious of the part of you which is not positive, just to become aware with the intention of, I want to become aware of what's going on inside of me, to let it go, because it's not productive, it's not useful, has no purpose other than to show me, they have a purpose, to show me where my thinking is off. My thinking is off. My belief system is off. My behaviors are off. It's your soul telling you you're deviating from what works for you, from productive activity. So, I mean, think about anger. I get angry at my wife, say, well, this woman I love the most, it's not productive to be angry with her. So whatever I'm thinking, what I'm probably thinking at that moment is she doesn't love me or appreciate me. Well, that's a lie. She does. See, we lie to ourselves all the time. And so when we're lying to ourselves, you will suffer pain. Pain then puts your attention on what's misfunctioning. Like if you get a cut on your hand, it will hurt. You'll feel pain, so the brain can identify what needs to be healed. Negative emotions is just, they arise from your soul. The soul says, look, you got to look at this and change the way you're thinking, change the way you're believing, change the way you're thinking about yourself. Whatever it might be, change is necessary. What's interesting is change really only occurs when people are in pain. A lot of people following a vegan diet, for example, we're not healthy. That's why people can say, oh, this diet not necessarily healthy, because a lot of people who are challenged in a healthy way, challenged in a health, they use that as a form of medicine for them. There's all kinds of diets. I'm not stuck on any one. But I do know that when I fast, which is similar to a vegan diet, which is no heavy foods, I have like electricity flowing through me. I mean, you in a spiritual state. So for me, I had electricity going. I was a vegetarian for 9 years when I was from 19 to 28. I was a celibate monk. Okay, you want to have, and fasted most of the time, had a vegetarian diet, massive amount of energy flowing through me. Now, what would happen for most people with that much energy is they would have all these addictions. But when you're a monk, your major, besides meditating, it's learning to be celibate, not for males, releasing the energy. Masturbation is so prevailing now today that the males' average testosterone levels are 20% lower than just 20 years ago. Okay, this is, and every year goes down 1%. This is a disaster happening. A major part of that is our addiction. Remember, addictions release this energy that's blocked up. You can be a male feeling your life has a little meaning, a little purpose. Your testosterone goes down. Now you get a surge of testosterone through any addiction. You get a surge, and then afterwards it drops back down. But before we get to that, how I came about this was 9 years of celibacy, building up my spiritual energy where I could meditate 18 hours a day. Like you see these yogis sitting in caves. I didn't sit in caves. I sat in comfortable rooms with eating, but I could do that. I can't do that now. Okay. I had my strong back, to sit there and process all that energy by going into a spiritual state. I was the assistant to Maharishi. My picture was in all their centers and 3,600 centers in my brain chemistry. So I'm like an NFL player, gifted, talented meditator. I started meditating at 3 years old, not knowing it. My dad taught me yoga. So then I went off to be a guru. And so having said all that, and the point to it, which is when you have high consciousness, a lot of energy, you're connected to the divine force of the universe. What comes up, you'll read it in spiritual literature, is the dark night of the soul. When the monk or the spiritual person comes back into the world, suddenly everything is flat. Okay, you go through this high blissful state, you're in meditation, it's like really like a Michael Jackson being on stage. You feel ecstasy flowing through you and everybody feels it, but afterwards you're massively unhappy, okay, and lost and afraid. And it's the dark night of the soul. The demons come up. Now you have to face the demons. Once you have enough consciousness, when the screen is so white, as Yogananda said, the screen is so white, then all the little black spots show up. See, if you're wearing a white outfit, you get stains. If you have just this shirt, you'll never see a stain. Okay, so as your consciousness becomes more pure, you become aware of what's not pure. And that's all of the repressed emotional trauma of childhood. So that stuff comes up. So we have to know how to deal with that. So that was my first book, is learning how to deal with that, which is, I have connection to divine wisdom, okay? Anytime you're feeling positive, whatever, you're connecting to whatever extent the divine wisdom. And so for me, it was about learning how to process the stuff that came up. And the stuff that came up, it was very easy. I started feeling angry. I got in a relationship, started having sex. That was fantastic. but at times my buttons would get pushed and I get really, really angry. Who is this guy? I'm not an angry person. I'm like happy and equanimity and love and peace and everything. Suddenly I'm angry. What is this about? Well, the unenlightened person, whenever you're angry, upset, immediately goes, you made me feel this way. As opposed to when I was a child, certainly a child, all your negative emotions are triggered by the outer world. Okay, you hurt me. That's a childlike part of us. Well, that's what comes up when you have more energy flowing through. Anything unlike the divine comes out of you. Anything unlike love, anything unlike your true self will pop up and show up. And it doesn't say, hey, I'm your unresolved, suppressed emotions about mom and dad, about brothers and sisters, about life on this planet, which is a pretty tough place to come to when we're all from heaven. Okay. But anyway, so the point of it being is that I was feeling all this button would get pushed. I feel angry. And then I started giving talks, and what I feel about meditation, I have huge anxiety before the talk. What do I need to be afraid of? So all this stuff started coming up inside of me. So I learned how to process that, which is not with blame, but with anger. And what I found is I would get locked into anger, and I said, well, why am I angry? Well, whenever you're angry, something's happening you don't like, right? You just don't like it. And so it's upsetting you. Well, why is it upsetting you? Because you're expecting something else. So that's another emotion. When I'm expecting something to happen that's meaningful to me and it doesn't happen, the emotion is disappointment, sadness, hurt. So that's a whole different term. So I find I'd be journaling out my anger, and then I realize, okay, now let me ask, what am I disappointed about? What am I sad about? What am I hurt about? And all these tears would come out. It was like, wow, what's this happening? I'm like equanimity all the time. So the tears would come out. And so then that would flow for a while, and that felt better. And then it didn't seem to feel as good. And I said, well, there must be something deeper. Well, why am I feeling so sad? Why am I feeling so hurt? Why am I feeling so disappointed? Why is that causing pain to me? Because another part of me is afraid I'll never get what I want. See, if you're not afraid, if something happens, I just lost some money, but if I'm not afraid of not getting more, it's no big deal. Underlying anger is disappointment. Underlying disappointment is always fear. So this is how you process emotions. Whenever you're stuck in a negative emotion, you then want to look at what it is, identify it, understand why you think you feel that way. Don't put, you're journaling, right? Then you look at what your disappointment or sadness is. Then you look at what your fears are. And ultimately behind all of our fears is feeling regret and also sometimes guilt. What have I done wrong? How can I make myself better? What's my feelings of shame, guilt, regret? These are all really deep feelings that we have. It's what was it? I had to grieve for 2 years. My wife of 34 years died 4 years ago. And for 2 years, I just processed emotions, and couldn't do it. I was a basket case. And from one perspective, another perspective, I was healing and growing and more love. And I would go back to these feelings of remembering mistakes I made and feel the guilt, feel the apology, express the apology. And then it goes away when you suddenly go, and how I want to be in the future. Because anything we feel bad about is an opportunity to say, how can I self-correct? Not how can I keep beating myself up, but how can I self-correct and aspire to be a better person? So behind all of those emotions is, and that's what you see in the What You Feel You Can Heal book, which is that my first big discovery was understanding layers of emotion. Whenever you're upset or just feeling nothing, or you're feeling, oh, I have to eat more food, or I have to, procrastinate, or I have this addiction. Underneath that is a lot of emotions you're trying to avoid. So having emotional intelligence, which is able to label the emotions inside, you can become a journaler. And boy, I've written thousands of these feeling letters, but it's not just staying stuck on one emotion. See, people get caught in it unless somebody says, now question that. What are you afraid of? And what do you feel bad about? And then you get in touch with a flow, a stream of, okay, what is it that I'm wanting? Desire is the real key power to feeling good. Yes, now I'm wanting, the energy is flowing. What am I wanting to have a good diet. I'm wanting to be more loving. I'm wanting to be more successful. I'm wanting to write that book. I'm wanting to go to clean up my house. That's all desire. So you let the desire flow. And one technique is simply like, if it's a relationship upset, I'm wanting to be loving, I'm wanting to be caring, I want my partner to see me and help me. If you're single, I want to be in a relationship, whatever you're wanting, you just listen to that voice inside. And then, so when you hear what you're really wanting, then you're not wanting these things that are unproductive. You shift from wanting to escape rather than wanting to create. So that's a dynamic, just by going in touch with what do I want? Then, if it's a relationship issue, use your imagination and imagine your partner saying to you what you need them to say to you. And that's the response letter that I write about in that. You say what you're upset about, then you imagine getting what you want. And the partner saying, I understand you're angry about this. I understand you're sad about this. I understand you're afraid of this. I understand you feel bad. I forgive you, but I want to apologize. It's my fault. Say anything you want to hear, because you're talking to yourself. See, most everything we're upset about is just our imagination of how we're seeing the world. So use your imagination to give yourself what it is you need. That's the response letter. And then imagine getting that response. Some people say, oh, I can't imagine getting that. I can't imagine them doing that. I say, look, can you imagine a purple elephant? Yes, you can imagine anything if you can't work at it. But if you really, really can't, you can imagine an angel coming down and talking to you, or a parent, another new parent or something, whatever. So you have to imagine getting what it is you're wanting and needing. Then ask yourself, step 3, how would that make me feel? And now you say, well, that makes me feel safe. That makes me feel happy. That makes me feel I can open up to you. That makes me feel I can forgive you. I love you. That gives me insight and understanding that this isn't a bigger deal than this isn't such a big deal. I can grow from this. I can learn from this. So you have, how does that make me feel? What do I learn from this? And what am I grateful for? And you go into gratitude. That's one process. That's the what you feel you can heal process. Now, all my books are sort of elaborated on. I've got one book for people who are single after being in a relationship called Mars, Venus Starting Over. And there I've got like 50 different techniques using that concept, but that's just the very basic one. And what you feel you can heal. The simplest book is right over there, little hearts on it. And it's this easy read. It's Psychology 101 from an enlightened teacher. Okay, that's it. Because psychology there's so much good stuff there, and there's so much misleading stuff there. And now what I talk about today, just to update it, but you did talk about that. So what you do to keep your word on things is start processing your emotions, because anytime you deviate from what you're really wanting to accomplish when you're feeling good, what you want when you deviate, process your emotions. And most people think, I can't change how I feel until the outer world changes. I can't change how I feel till the outer world changes. And the reality is the outer world will never change. It will only get worse until you start looking at changing how you feel about the outer world. And one of the touch points here is just to know if I watch TV after 10 o'clock, okay, if I'm watching TV, just sitting there passive, I've watched some news, maybe I watch a show, but then I'm passively not doing anything. That raises stress levels. And when stress levels go up, what happens is I will start to hunger for food, because there's nothing to be upset about. Good life. I'm sitting there, but what's happening is stress hormones are being produced because I'm passive. Too much passivity is not a good thing. You're imagining you're involved with all these things. Some is good. It's good as a distraction for what's bothering you. That's okay. But when that hunger comes up, I immediately start processing my emotions. I say, what could I be upset about right now? Because you have to look inside. So when people overeat, usually they're feeling bored. See, boredom is just a symptom of I push down negative emotions. Boredom. Discomfort. See, these are not really emotions. They're sort of states that lead us to wanting to overeat. lead us to addictions. And whereas there's good addictions, like you just had some water, I'm looking for my water. See, that's a good thing to, but see, that's not really addiction. That's a need. It's a need.
Yes.
A productive desire. See, it's productive. All addictions are non-productive. Why do we do things that are non-productive? Which is kind of like your original question, because we want to avoid what we feel when we're not being productive. And that's a simple way of saying it. Sitting there in front of a TV set is just not productive at a certain point. So I don't need that information. It's just entertaining me. So then boredom comes up, or just you don't even feel the boredom. It's just like something's missing. So now I need some stimulation. Now, there's another model. That's the model of how to process your emotions. But there's another model of what happens when you're feeling stressed. Now, whenever you're feeling stressed, now we're going to biologically of what's going on. Cortisol level, okay, that's a stress hormone. To push down cortisol, we just have to go eat, do an addiction or whatever, and we feel good again, as opposed to feeling bored or despair or unhappy. This is sort of this flat irritation, annoyance about life, or just boredom. So what we know is when cortisol levels get produced, men and women are different. They respond differently to stress. For women, when they're stressed, always their estrogen levels are lower than they should be. And for men, whenever they're stressed, their testosterone levels are lower than they should be. You can see this on simple tests. Cortisol levels in men, their estrogen levels are too high, their cortisol levels are too low. I'm sorry, their testosterone is too low. For women, when they're stressed, their estrogen is too low, their testosterone is too high. It's like, really, we have a male and a female side, and they're regulated. When I'm doing my female qualities, loving, and what are the female qualities? Doing what I love to do, doing what I enjoy to do, doing what makes me happy, feeling I can depend on others, put myself in safe situations. What will happen is estrogen levels will start to rise. Estrogen is a primary hormone necessary for women's bodies to regulate stress hormones. So whenever you're upset, you'll first start, well, let me just say that first. For men, to balance it, for men, when they're stressed, their testosterone levels are going down, their estrogen levels are going higher. Do you see the opposite there? Like a seesaw. Yeah. So the foundation here, this is simple, basic science. Nobody's ever interpreted it, taken that science and applied it to relationships. But if you see online, just go online, it's very simple. If a woman, because that's a big question today, is that, what is a woman, what is a man? So real simply, how do we regulate stress? Probably the most important thing we can look at. And because when we're in stress, to get out of stress, we tend to go into our addictions, which is doing unproductive things against what we truly want to do. It's a really simple model. So you'll see that women, when they're happy and they're in line, their estrogen levels will be 10 times more than a man's. This is just showing how we're really different, okay? And for a man, when he's feeling really happy, his testosterone levels will be 10 times higher than a woman's. Now, you asked me also how to have a sexy relationship and request for the interview. Well, we just have to know that men feel sexually attracted to their partner when their testosterone levels in her presence double to 20 times, 30 times more testosterone. And women feel turned on to their partner as a prerequisite for this when their estrogen levels double in his presence. Okay, so we need relationship skills that actually men can learn relationship skills that will raise estrogen in women, and women need relationship skills that will raise testosterone in men. And here now we're going to come back into our addictions. As men are stressed, their testosterone levels start to drop. There's certain things that will knock his testosterone up that are not productive. Lying, cheating, being immoral, not being true to your noble self, all temporarily in a backwards way, it does bump up testosterone. Anytime you do dangerous things, testosterone can go up. It could be dangerous productive things, testosterone goes up, or dangerous unproductive things. Masturbation is one of the biggest testosterone producers in men that's non-productive. There's nothing productive about it at all. So when you do something that's not productive, you just burned off energy. See, it's kind of like we build up a vitality. I have why people say, what's your secret of 50 million books? What is that? Is it somehow I stay alive in people's minds because my consciousness goes out to a lot of people. Now, even measurably, a company called Heart Math. They actually measured the energy fields of people. And when you're in sync, when your heart is open, mind, body are in sync, heart is all in sync. Okay, they can measure the synchronicity of the brain heart connection. And they have feedback machines that show you that, whatever. But anyway, it shows that when your heart is open, you're in synchrony, your field goes out 35 feet. That's charisma. See, it goes out 35 feet. And when your heart is closed, it shrinks into barely outside your body. And this is all measurable with new technologies of the world. So what we want to do is be that person who influences the world, and you're out there. So your field is out there. There's also a challenge that comes when your field is out there, just for everybody who's vegan, is that you don't have the normal defense reactions as you feel more love and more energy flowing through you. Let's say you can handle that energy, your field goes out there. That means you're affected by more people. You're affected by your environment more. This is another reason people close down and want to eat meat and whatever, because it protects you, it closes your field down so you're not so influenced by others. Sex, definitely, regardless of whether your heart is open, if you have sex, you're fully influenced by the person you had sex with. So watch out who you have sex with. It's a big deal. Relationships change as soon as you have sex, because suddenly you're being affected by someone all the time. The only way you can stop being affected by them, it could be good effect. That's the point of love. If somebody appreciates you, acknowledges you, and so forth. But coming back to the not being able to follow through on your productive desires, which is what you asked me in the beginning, it's always big answers to stuff. If you want to change the world, the answers are big. Sorry to say that, but there's some simple points in that. One is negative emotions are your biggest obstacle. Learn how to process them without having to change the world. Come back to feeling good, come back to feeling love, come back to feeling desire and motivation that you originally had and you lost. That's one aspect. Another one is stress levels. When it comes to men, they had to do unproductive things that can produce testosterone. The major one there would be masturbation, or sex without intimacy. Sex without love is a huge testosterone producer. More testosterone gets produced when you have sex without love than actually sex with love. It's paradoxical. And why would that be? And again, a little research. If you look at married men, have the lowest testosterone levels. Single men have the highest testosterone in their category. Now, I'm a married man. I have grandchildren, children and grandchildren. What they say is the lowest testosterone men on average are married men with children. Why is that? Well, it's simple logic. Once you understand the hormonal balance in our bodies, a man needs 10 to 20 times more testosterone to feel fully alive, right? So that's his magic potion. And as soon as you love a woman, your estrogen levels go up. Estrogen is love, happiness, and joy. So now you got this woman you love that makes you happier than anything in your life, okay? When you're feeling love for her, your estrogen levels are going up. Estrogen pushes testosterone down. Testosterone is too high, which is a single guy. He wants more estrogen to find balance within himself. So he's horny and wants to find a woman. But if he finds a woman without getting love, then what happens is testosterone goes way up and then shoots way down. Just like you take cocaine. It goes way up and then it crashes down. And then it's so low. This is the way the brain works, the hormones work. Too much, you go to not ability to have much. If you look into the sun, bright light, your pupils will constrict and go into darkness and they open up again. So this is this mood swing that people go through, ups and downs, in and out. We have these balancing factors. One of the things that always puts you back into balance is being conscious of where you're not being loving, which is your negative emotions, being conscious of where you're not following through on your goals, and then feel your negative emotions. And the negative emotions, once you get good at it, it's no longer just about what's bothering you now. Then you have to realize why you're overreacting to what's now, because stuff from your childhood is coming up. That's where I have all these books on different ways to process your emotions. But that one was the best one that I've ever written on that, is how to, after processing the emotions of a breakup, because that's devastating. I mean, that's really when your heart has a chance to grow, is when you feel rejected. It's a broken heart that heals, that becomes stronger if it heals. Otherwise, it gets weaker. When I was a little boy, I fell out of a tree and broke both bones in my arms And the doctor said that when they grow back stronger. And that's true when you're a child. If you have a broken bone, it will grow back stronger. But that broken bone has to be reset straight. If it's not reset, then it doesn't grow back straight. So if you don't find forgiveness for the problems in your life, hard just to say, I want to forgive, because there's all this motion around it. You've got to process the emotions and then imagine getting what you want. And then you come back to real easy forgiveness. Okay. So these are like the tools of emotional intelligence. Then you've got the gender intelligence, which I'm moving into now in this presentation, which is really talked about in this book, Beyond Mars and Venus. Beyond Mars and Venus is the challenge of today, which is why people have so many difficulties following through on their goals and their desires and wanting to be loving. It's because when women are stressed, and we have very stressful lives today, when women are stressed, their estrogen levels go down. What can raise their estrogen is negative emotions. Positive emotions are negative emotions. Anytime you're emotional, your estrogen levels will go up. This is where women can get addicted to negative emotions. The brain always has a bias towards looking at negativity as opposed to positivity. And what we know now from our emotional intelligence is if you don't sort of clear out the negative emotions, the positive emotions can't come back up. So you got it. They're always pushing down. The positive increases in your life, the negativity comes up, and you can't access the positive till you process the negative, and now you're back to your positive. And then you're really positive, and then more negativity will come up, and you're really positive. This is an ongoing journey until you get very good at moving through your negative emotions very quickly, because you've done it so much. You just get better and better at it. And then you realize making a big deal out of it, no, not a big deal. Okay. And you just go through life, but you still stay in touch with emotion. Men, on the other hand, on the male side, part of what testosterone does, it says, no big deal, don't worry about it, no problem. But he's pushing down emotions. So he doesn't have emotions, but he will feel the desire to connect with a woman and feel her emotions, and therefore connect with her love and her happiness. And then he becomes whole. So a lot of going back and forth here. But the bottom line, to simplify it again, is eating stimulates estrogen. Let's just look at big testosterone producer is being independent. When you're on your own by yourself, is up to me. That's your testosterone. Now, all women should have testosterone. They need testosterone. They just don't need as much as men. Okay, that's the distinction. That's your male quality. So one male quality inside of every person is I'll do it myself. Another one is I'm going to get help. I can depend on others. I need support. I depend on the outer world to make me happy, is my female side, to a great extent. That's if pure female is I depend on the outer world to make me happy. And pure masculine is I don't depend on anybody. I'll do it myself. I can do it myself. Now, either one doesn't provide fulfillment. You have to have your balance of those two things inside. You know, it's like the depending, back in the 60s when men were starting to become more feminine and women were becoming more masculine. So that's when I was growing up. Woodstock for me was do what you like, the music of just do what you like and have sex before marriage and get naked and do it with anybody and eat what you like. Everything was do what you like and demonstrate against the war. This is grow out your hair, be more feminine was a big thing for guys back then. But then they got addicted, they got weak, and now it's taken extreme proportions because it's so easy. Once society gives you permission as a man to go to your female side, that means to let other people do stuff for you. That means I don't have to do it myself. I'll let other people do it for you. And the easiest thing for a woman, this is ironical, is to do it yourself. I mean, think about being in a relationship where you're depending on your partner, that's estrogen, and he's not there for you the way you want him to be there. Well, then I'll just do it myself. If I can't depend on you, I'll do it myself. And this is women going to their male side from a place of pain and men going to their female side to avoid their pain. Okay, so I'm just going to do what I like. So we're way out of balance in society today. Discipline is your male side, and doing what you love to do is your female side. And what you do, which I love, Jeanette, is you make the discipline of being a vegan enjoyable and delicious and fun and being an inspiration for that. So that's really, really important. Food needs to taste really good because food that's productive produces estrogen and food that's not productive produces estrogen. Depending on something to feel good is going to make your estrogen go up. So the challenge for women is depending on food that's good for you, because it's going to make you feel good, rather than food like junk food. It makes you feel good, but it's not productive. You see, we know biologically it's like poison, but it does feel good. So when women aren't producing enough estrogen, they'll go for the quick fix, which is easy food that feels good. And they haven't been trained on learn something new to have food that feels good, that's good for you. So why is this weight issue so challenging for women? Okay, from one point of view, is when you're on your male side during the workday, most women are now independent, out doing anything. Anytime you do something for money, you're producing testosterone. If you make money, if you're doing something for money and you don't make money, then you don't make as much testosterone. It goes down. But when you're working and you're feeling productive, and money usually says you're productive, you're sacrificing to a certain degree, doing what I like to do to doing what I have to do in order to make money. So that's positive sacrifice. See, men, in a sense, are totally designed to thrive from sacrifice for a noble cause, for a productive cause. Women are not. Okay, you're just not designed for that, because whenever you sacrifice for a noble cause, rather than doing what you like to do, you're sacrificing. You have to put aside what is most loving and enjoyable and nurturing for you to do in order to survive and achieve your goal and get to your goal and make the money you need to survive. You're in that world now. You can't escape it. You created it. Take responsibility for it. It's not going to change. But what we can do is make a win out of it. So if women can go to their male side, congratulations. That means you have new logic abilities. You have more reasonableness. You have more discipline. You have more focus. You have more strength and power. Well, what do you do with that power? You use that power and that wisdom to come back to your female side every day. And that's new relationship skills. Okay, the new relationship skills, and practically based on what you're teaching, what you're helping women to come back to their female side is women, do something you enjoy doing that's productive, which is make these delicious meals that you help women do. It's a very estrogen stimulating thing, and serve other people for that. You can make delicious food for yourself, you'll produce estrogen and productive estrogen. But if you're sharing with others, you'll produce even more, because nurturing is an estrogen stimulating activity. So you're cooking for something yourself, of course, but also for somebody else. Well, what a beautiful thing. So
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll let you make some comments at this point. But what I'm pointing out here is that you can depend on things that are good for you, depend on things that are not good for you. It's always going to be more estrogen stimulating, and you're going to get your estrogen. So good food, eating, good friends, and making love. Making love is such a good thing. There's nothing more powerful to stimulate estrogen than making love. Sex is the sound foundation of all health and vitality. Food is there along with it. Food and sex. I mean, what are the two things we have to do to survive? Okay, for evolution to occur, we need to have food, we need to have sex, and we have safety along the way. And there's just, I'm 70 years old. My testosterone levels are 50% higher than a young man. Okay, how did I get there? Okay, it's all the things I'm talking about. Big part of it is, for me, now, again, this is a advanced meditative technique I'm just going to mention, and because you did mention you want me to talk a little bit about sex, I'm going to talk about that. Sex is the most powerful way. Sex with love, of course. It's when I say making love, it's sex for the purpose of feeling love. Now, most people have sex for the purpose of feeling good, but feeling good in that case is feeling pleasure. Sex is the most pleasurable thing you can do. The body stimulates all the, to a woman's clit and a man's penis, there's all the nerves go there. All the chi energy goes there. This is the most potent place inside of us, except it creates so much aliveness. Remember the aliveness? You have more. Are you able to follow through on your commitments? If you don't, you feel more suffering. I'll give you an example. When I told my publisher I was going to write Men Are From Mars in 3 months, I'd written another book and they wanted to buy that. And I said, no, I can write a better one. And then how long will it take? I said 3 months. I designed the whole thing. And so I'm sitting there to start a whole new book is a daunting task. Okay. So I remember lying in bed, my arms out like I was on a cross or something, it's just, I can't do it. Because huge voltage came in, the advance they gave me went up 5-6 times, over a 2-day period. I was getting so much money, so much energy, acknowledgement, appreciation. I couldn't stand anymore. Literally, it was just $140,000, but still, to me at that time was a huge huge thing. I was expecting a $10,000 advance. And my wife and I were just exploding with energy. Okay. So how do you follow through with that? Well, I had to write the book now. Otherwise, and so I would sit there and that energy came to me, woke me up every morning at 3 o'clock in the morning and said, you got to go write the book. And I go, no, I don't want to go. I want to go back to sleep, until this pain just grew in my belly more and more. I say, it's more painful to get up and start this book than it is to stay in bed. And again, it's pain that motivates us. And you pull, if you have a desire, a mission and a purpose, and you say, I want to do it, the energy comes. And now if you don't do it, you suffer. So historically, because people couldn't process emotions in the ancient days, that was called Pandora's box. Is if you open Pandora's box, the demons come out. And what is opening Pandora's box? It's saying, I want something. See, the whole teaching in the past has been give up desire, don't want more, and you'll be happy. Be happy with what you have, be content, be grateful for what you got. Don't desire more. So if you're grateful for what you got, you'll keep getting what you got. If you want more, which is fantastic, it's the flow of life. You know, my trees put out so many apples and fruits and everything, more and more and more. It's the nature of life. If you want to get in that game, you know, it's like going down the rapids. Okay, it's big energy flowing through. You gotta follow through on what you say. And of course, what we're doing here on planet Earth is trying to learn how to love. So we have to follow through on love, loving our body, being healthy, loving ourselves, loving our relationship, loving our world. And these are all more complex things as we evolve. We have to take on more and more and more. Otherwise, we go less and less and less. So the men start going down, their testosterone goes down, because nobody teaches them how to have more and to follow through. So having more, now we'll look at that. This is something historically has always been something called family values. If you want to have sex, which is the most pleasurable experience you can have on the planet, you do it with love. You do it with commitment. It's not just about me, me, me. Sex is not me, me. See, masturbation, whether it be for a man or a woman, is me, 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 my pleasure. What is making love is using the pleasure of sex to connect more to your feelings. See, when something's not very pleasurable, you're resisting it, right? So when you're feeling pleasure, you're enjoying, you're opening. And when you're opening to feeling, use this opening to feel the love in your heart and to express that love, to verbalize it. So when you're having sex with the one you love, and particularly if it's somebody you love, and then you're not faking it when you say, oh, I love you. See, a lot of men tell women, I love you, I love you, I love you. They don't know what love is. It's like I'm eating ice cream. I love ice cream. Oh, it feels so good. I love it. I love it. And so they say, I love you. I love you. And then afterwards, I never want to see you again. That's masturbation. That's fantasy. That's one night stands and all that stuff. See, this used to be called, something negative. I'm such a positive state, like Sodom and Gomorrah, the downfall of civilization, with everybody's having sex with everybody, even sex with animals, it's all confused. It's all just pleasurable. It's wild, it's crazy, as opposed to it's about love. Sex helps us to feel our love. So when you're having sex, when you're going along, for men particularly, because men are the ones that end sex with their ejaculations, what you do too soon is you keep coming back to, I'm feeling pleasure, and now let me express that. Why do I feel it? Because it allows me to feel more love. So instead of seeking more pleasure with all kinds of games and fantasies and tools and all that, okay, have fun, kids. But bottom line, you're just throwing away your energy rather than elevating pleasure to get in touch with your feelings, to express greater love for your partner and express that love. So one of the things you can say, men, is you verbalize things like, I love you so much. You're so beautiful. You're the only one for me. I'll always be with you. You're it. You're the only one. I work hard so I can make your life easier. All I care, you're the number one person in my life. And you say it again. Yeah. And then you're busy feeling the pleasure, and then you feel it building up, and then you say it again. You say it again. You express the feeling inside. Now, this is a bizarre thing. I never heard anybody, I kind of discovered it on my own, but it seems so obvious because most men are quiet in sex, instinctively. So you're into the pleasure, you're focusing on that rather than being able to express love. And for women, what they don't, and I ask women in my seminars, I say, how many women would love it if a man says that? They all go, yes, I love it. Okay. It's not like, but men don't understand what they're doing is as a woman is going to more vulnerable, a letting go. So for men, it's a doing sex. Okay, get in touch with your feelings so you can provide for her. Same thing men did in the past, provide money for her, safety for her. We're providing reassurance for her with words while providing pleasure for her, which allows her to open up to feel her vulnerability, which is non-doing, it's allowing. You see, estrogen is an allowing, testosterone is a doing. So by allowing, she comes from the place of, do you love me? Do you think I'm beautiful? Will you always be there for me? Do you want to marry me again and again? See, there's all that. It's a vulnerability. And it could just simply be, do you love me? Do you like me? Do you think I'm beautiful? Do you enjoy being with me? These are feelings, just let them come up. Because see, they're in our subconscious mind. They're always there. We're always, as human beings, seeking reassurance that we are loved and that we can give love. So that's a dynamic. So that's what makes sex really great. Then how much sex do you have? This is very important. Now, I mentioned I do it every day, sometimes twice a day, but I'm retired, slightly retired, right? So I have more time. When I had children, I couldn't do that. Okay, you're busy with your kids or whatever, but I had a great sex life. Now, what I did then is practice something that now we have verification for. Then I didn't have the science, so I couldn't teach it. How much sex should you have? As a general rule, well, let me just tell the research. The research shows, and this is on 25-year-old athletes, where they can measure their athletic performance as well as their testosterone levels. They have sex on Saturday night. Then they have sex on Tuesday. And after having sex both times, what happens is during sex, their testosterone goes up. And then after sex, they go back down to baseline. See, there's a baseline. So they'll just go back to their normal baseline, which is much lower than what they felt during sex, right? So they go back to baseline. Then if at 2 days pass and they're at baseline and they have sex again, testosterone will go up and then it will go down to baseline. And that's what will happen again and again. After sex, it always goes down to baseline. And what we see is over time, and this is proven with statistics, due to normal sexual practices, testosterone levels continue to go down 1% every year. So your average 50-year-old man has half the testosterone as a young man. So that's what's going to happen if you're not consciously having sex. But the research showed that if you have sex on Saturday night and you ejaculate like the other, and you don't ejaculate for 6 days, then on the 7th day, before you have sex, okay, your testosterone is already 50% higher. So now you're not building up testosterone. You're starting out at the same level of testosterone when you fell in love. Because see, when you fell in love, there was a kind of a fantasy of not yet knowing the person, but they're new and different. New and different stimulates very high levels of dopamine, which then makes your testosterone go up 50% more. So the newness of a relationship will eventually always go away, which is fine. I don't need a new partner. I have the same partner and my love can grow even more. So that's where monogamy comes in. And monogamy is like the greatest thing. And men think, what am I giving up? I say, you have no idea what you're getting from being monogamous. You can grow in love as opposed to being a single guy always lusting after women who don't want you. It's not freedom. Being in a monogamous relationship with a great sex life, making love life, you're not giving up anything. You're getting more, as opposed to the guy over there has sex and then longs for it and wants it and has fantasy. Giving up lust for people that unproductive energy as opposed to productive energy, where you're making love and you're growing in love and your whole cells are regenerated. Then what you eventually learn, so basically what I'm saying, man, you want to keep your testosterone levels up, have sex once a week, and occasionally on special occasions, the newness is there. You go on a little getaway, have it 3 times that day, and no big deal because you have all this dopamine. You'll have to come back down to a baseline again, and then you'll start building baseline over time by having sex once a week, as opposed to twice a week, or having sex and masturbating, or being a single guy and masturbating all the time and gradually it's going down. This is like, you want a great sex life, you have to use sex to find love. That's the bottom line. Then as you do that, you build up a hormone called prolactin in your body. So my prolactin levels are very, very high. What prolactin does, inhibits your desire for other women. I cannot get turned on by other women. Okay, they're just pretty flowers. Okay, that's ultimately what prolactin does. It's a mechanism, it's a hormone produced by nature, or God says, if you find a woman you want a family with, we're going to give you more prolactin, so you're not going to leave that family. So it's the monogamy hormone. And prolactin is produced only in marriage and commitment. And over time, if you're actually committed, your prolactin levels build up higher and higher. That then allows you to learn something new, and men need to have technology for doing this. they need a little instruction on how to do it, which I give to men. There's lots of books on being multi-orgasmic and then multi-orgasmic without ever ejaculating. So that's why I can have sex every day. I can have sex on an instant, anytime with my partner, but nobody else. Okay? It's not my partner. And my partner's always particularly in the mood if their opportunity exists, because the normal conditioning that happens to women in sex is that you opening up to him, he ejaculates. It's a big moment. His estrogen surges. That's what ejaculation is men feel so much feeling. We'll just put it that way. Usually it's feeling love. It's their partner. I love you. I love you. Love you. And it blows a circuit. It's just, there's not enough testosterone to maintain that high level of estrogen. So then his testosterone shoots back down the baseline. That's an ejaculation. And now you have to build up your potency to have sex again. Now, some men have sex every day and they're just addicted to sex, and they're just, you can look at them, they don't have juice in their face at all. They're just wasting energy out. Okay, they're not building energy. I mean, there's also exceptions for this stuff. There's historically, there's all of the kings always had harems. And if you couldn't get an erection every day and you're a man, your son would become king. So the wife says, let's bring in a bunch of new and different women all the time. So he'll keep his erection up. But that's the key to it. I call it the iron penis. It's ready anytime, but only with one woman. That's the potency that we have as men. And it will keep a woman, her estrogen levels very, very high, because after a man ejaculates, think about it. He's there, she's depending on him, and now he disappears. And his energy is not as strong as it was before. Then she can't depend on that all the time. It's an energy field. So she has to start pulling back to her male side. I have to do it myself. So her estrogen levels also go back down. We have no research on what happens to women's estrogen after that. But what I know from my experience, women telling me, and I mean, I've been with, is they're basically over time. What we can see is over time, due to normal sex practices, women lose interest in having sex with their partners. Okay, now you get some women saying they're divorced and I want to be with a young man. get a man who's at least movable instead of Mr. Grumpy. You see, Mr. Grumpy has half the testosterone levels he had when he was young, and therefore he's rigid, he's irritable, he's not flexible, he doesn't feel a lot of love. He feels he's settled. I mean, he's not a bad person or whatever. He just doesn't have the youthfulness that gives you when you have testosterone, and women are attracted to that for certain, and just as men are attracted to women who still have their estrogen being produced. Now, this isn't a doomsday discussion for women who are over menopause. I have many male students with women in their 70s and close to their 80s, and they're multi-orgasmic. All you need to do, a multi-orgasmic woman, is give up focusing on your clitoris and start learning to surrender to a man's intercourse. Okay, the penis goes to different spots in your vagina that will start opening up and giving another orgasm, then orgasmic. But you need a man who sustains his erection long enough for you to do that. And often, because women don't experience that, they tend to focus in on trying to have an orgasm through clitoral stimulation. And I gotta have it. Nothing wrong with that. That's better than nothing, right? Yeah, it feels good. But over time, your dependence on him to be turned on diminishes because you're doing it yourself. It's again going to your male side. Clitoris is great for arousal as part of the foreplay process, but the real stuff is the vaginal orgasm. And when Freud talked about this, because so few women had vaginal orgasms, they said that was just a myth, that's a lie. And now we know it's not a lie. We have no science is that literally at a certain point in arousal, then the G-spot will start to rise up, become erect inside of her vagina. And then there's an E-spot, and then her cervix will actually start to come down. It's like his penis gets longer, and his penis does get longer. That's, it's not like what happens after many, many multiple orgasms for a man. If a man reaches his finger, when he has an erection, he has a penis, his erection. If he pushes his finger down at the base, he'll see that there's 1 to 2 inches, and some men even more, hidden underneath. It hasn't yet come out. You see, that's his testosterone hasn't fully risen to its potential. So your penis actually gets longer and longer after sex. And if you do sex if you learn how to have sex without ever ejaculating, then how do you end it? Well, she's done, and she'll just feel, okay, I'm done. And then, okay, it's the iron penis, it's still standing up. And then you just cuddle and love each other. And now other hormones come into play, and gradually it softens down. But this is potential. This is what people have the potential for. And it's the ultimate anti-aging hormone balancing technique. Because there's nothing more powerful than intercourse to raise estrogen for women and intercourse to raise testosterone for men, if it's done with love, and consistently in a monogamous situation. So that's fun far out information. I figure vegans are open to that.
We are. So unfortunately, you have another interview, so I have to let you go. I have so many more questions, but thank you so much, John, for everything that you do, all your knowledge, your wisdom, all your books. And also, I really want to say real quick, thank you for doing your audiobooks. I love when the authors that I love, they read their own audiobooks. So thank you for doing that.
This is the one I recommend now. If you really want to learn how to, it's a challenge that every woman has today, how to use relationships to come back to your female side and without having to give up your male side. So no need to give up your male side, but just find the balance with your female side. And there's more depth to it all, but I have to deal with just the surface level things. For a woman's hormones, it's also at certain times of the month, you need more progesterone than estrogen. You still need estrogen, but if you don't have progesterone, then you start feeling really depressed. And that's, what is it? It's called estrogen dominance, but estrogen is not the bad player there. It's the lack of progesterone to balance the estrogen. And what causes progesterone to go down, which is another stress reducer for women, is if you're making too much testosterone. And I'd already defined what produces testosterone. So if you're making too much testosterone, literally to make testosterone in your body, women, it takes away, it uses up your progesterone. So literally you lose progesterone. So any woman who has estrogen dominance is making too much testosterone after ovulation towards her period. So there's subtleties to this, and I have a whole system, the you time, we time, me time system. We have online classes on that at marsvenus.com. I highly recommend them. My biggest recommendation right now is my daughter has done a course that we worked on for a year called Understanding Men. It's the problem. It talks about why men pull away, the problem that solves all problems. Okay, there's so much. People have read about some of these ideas in my books. We just took it to a whole nother level. She did. And she's done beautiful courses, workshops. So people can check out that at marsvenus.com. There's also a free introductory class at marsvenus.com that I think everyone will love as well. Although today we did a good job.
Yeah, and I'll leave all the links below, guys. So check out the links right below. And thank you so much, John. You're amazing. Thank you for being you. And thank you for everything you do.
If you like, you can make a list of your questions. We'll do another talk. And now that you have my basics, you can ask questions about that. Happy to do it. I wish you all the very, very best.
Thank you so much.